It's not getting into the land of the dead is the problem. It's getting back.
Welcome to this new episode of Kreabox. Today we're going to make our final composition in After Effects, so let's begin. The first thing that you have to do is to create a composition of 1280 pixels by 720 pixels, 12 frames per second. Now import all of your PNGs that you created in Character Animator and create a new selection or create a composition from selection. Now go ahead and give enough time for the extension of your animation and click OK. Now you're going to have all of these PNGs inserted in one composition, and now you just need to select all these guys and reduce the sizes to 1 frame. Now apply the or select all of these guys from top to bottom and use the sequence layer or the key assistance, and in this case you're going to select all of these guys, and when you apply this effect, as you can see, you're going to have all of these guys with 1 frame duration and all of those guys in order to create your animation. Now that's it. As easy as that. Import the ship PNG, which it is just a scenario in which our character is going to perform. So now select the character and put it inside this composition, the ship PNG composition, and move the guy where you need it. In this case, I want this guy behind the first ropes, and yeah, this is the place where I want it. So this is the begin. The first thing we're going to do is to emulate the rocking movement that ships do have while they are on the ocean. So we're going to do this with a camera. So use the camera and use the whip tool to make this camera to follow the null object. It is the best way, well, at least to me, it is one of the best ways to manipulate a camera. So with the null object, we're going to use the orientation and move it a little bit, maybe 5 degrees, 2 degrees. Let's go with 2 degrees. One side, 2 degrees negative, 2 degrees positive, 2 degrees negative. And in that case, you are going to have quite a rocking move. Now, we're going to use the key interpolation to have quite a bassier effect. This is the key. One of the keys in this tutorial. Use the loop out property. You can see this is here right below the effect. With this loop out property, you're going to have quite this animation to last till the end. Now we're going to animate our lamps. Since our lamps are inside the ship PNG, I don't know exactly where I position all these changes in the first composition, the main composition, which is the scene Barboza. So the best way to go is just to use the marks. I'm just using the mark to know where exactly I did movements in the first composition in order to put the keyframes of this movement or rocking movements, or this movement from side to side of the lamps right at the exact points in which the ship is moving. Use the same trick of properties and loop out this animation till the end of your animation, your whole animation. That's it. In that way you create the animation of the lamps. Now we're going to create the light that it is casting behind the character coming from these lamps. In this case, I can use a couple of tips that you can use while you're creating your lights. You can create the light in one side to be 100% and the other side to be transparent. But in this case, I'm going to go maybe with a Gaussian blur because I want kind of a full light. So I'm going to just add a Gaussian. Well, the first thing that you have to recognize here it is that this light is casting light on the character face, which it is not what happened, let's say, in real life, because the light is behind the character. The light is behind the character. So we're going to fix this with some mask. But first we're going to let's see if this is good. Yeah, I'm going to use an overlay to illuminate the whole thing. An overlay as the blending mode. And yeah, overlay is good. Now let's try to move these lights with the rocking move of the lamps, because this light comes from the lamps. So if the lamps are moving, obviously this light is going to move. So try to just position this light. Let me see. There you go, put it in front of everything. Just move it to the top, move the anchor point to the top of the light, and just paste the rotation. Just paste the rotation that you have on your lamps. And that's it. Duplicate that light over the second lamp, and as you can see, the light is casting correctly and moving according to this rocking move. Now let's going to apply the Gaussian effect. Let's going to use the Gaussian blur with 40% of this effect. Yeah, it does look good. The light is casting over the character, over the robes, and it is Gaussian, so it is diffused in some way. Now it's a good moment to talk about ambient occlusion and shadows in some way. So in this case, as you can see, the light is, as I said, given the impression that it is illuminating the face, but the hat doesn't allow this. So create a composition with both lights and apply the mask that obviously use the invert, and feather the borders. Yeah, that's it. As you can see, now we're blocking the light in front of the face, but as well we are allowing the light to go behind the hat. I don't need to animate this mess because the character doesn't move like that. So as you can see, we have the rim light behind the head, and the face is not illuminated. That is quite of a good effect that you can use in order to add some kind of realistic or realism to your animations. Now we're going to create the lights, the line teams. So use an old school lighting effect in After Effects. Just create a black solid and then apply this effect to it a little bit the width of the lighting, because we're creating a cartoonish animation. It is not a realistic animation, so you don't want to mix kind of styles in your animation in order to make it look odd or weird. You need to go with a cartoonish lighting, because as you can see, obviously we are dealing with a cartoon. So go ahead and create lighting and then animate the start point. This is the best way, or one of the ways in which you can animate the position of the lighting, or where the lighting comes from the sky in some way. Just animate the start point, just animate here and there the start point in the width, and so the lighting is going to disappear, because it is going to be behind the boat. And then in that way you can create quite these 7 lightings by now, audio, or that I'm planning to incorporate in my animation. So that's it. That is the lighting effect behind. We have a rocking boat or rocking lamps, the lights over the characters, a concept of ambient occlusion, because the hat is creating or not allowing the shadows to pass to the character face. We can add some shadow there, but I'm good with that by now. Now we're going to create this kind of a bluish atmosphere that the night does have. The illumination in a 90 scene, it is not going to be exactly quite the same the illumination that you're going to use in a day cast light or the daylight. So we're going to use this quite of a bluish effect all over the illustration, all over the animation, and in that way we are just creating this 90 effect, if you want it. Let me see, let's going to add this effect of night after this. The first thing now that we're going to do the thing that we're going to do is just to add the layers. Let me see. Use different blending modes. You can go with overlay, which is one of the best blending modes to kind of apply this color all over the animation. You can use 2 different layers, or you can go with just one, but let me just do it with 2 layers. Create a composition with these layers. You can use 1. So now we're going to talk about the shadows, on this illustration, this animation, in order to add some realism. The first shadow that is going to be casting, it is obviously in front of the character. So you just need to duplicate the character in order to have the same shape and the same movements. Just duplicate the character, and then the best way to go is just to use the transform to invert the character, put it behind. Let me see, there you go. The character, it is over the wooden, or those pieces of wooden that are in front of the character. Go move this little bit and use a mask to just, let's say, just allow this particular character, inverted character, to be cast or reflected on the pieces of wood that are in front of the character. I don't know exactly how in English use this. Yeah, now I'll apply the tint effect with a matte black and matte white in order to just have this pitch black effect. And now reduce the transparency, and boom, you have your shadow castings in front of your character. If you want to add more realism and more layers of realism, you can move this shadow from size to size, but for the sake of this tutorial, you can improve this. Now let's go to work in the second shadow. There are two more shadows that I want to include in this animation: the shadow casting in the rope star behind the characters, and another shadow in the rope star in front of the character. That's it. In that way you create a shadow that is casting in the ropes. Use a mask to retrain or just use this shadow on those ropes, and then create another copy of your character. Use the same technique, use the tint and a mask just to apply this shadow over the two ropes that are in front of the character. And that's it. In that way you created the three shadows that are in this scene. As I said, that first shadow that you can use a rocking move from side to side following the lamps. That will add a pretty good effect, but it is good to me because there are two lights. So when you have two lights coming over and barely symmetric to a character, then you're going to have part of a shadow casting right in front of the character. And that's it. Use the ambience, reduce the amount of audience when the thunders are going to be there, and that's the final composition of our animation. So I hope that you've enjoyed this tutorial and you've learned how to create your puppet in Adobe Illustrator, how you must animate your puppet in Character Animator, and how you put all these elements in Adobe After Effects in order to have your final composition. If you have the time, subscribe to the channel and have a great time while you're creating your own worlds.